What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the TokenMinorities, bringing you week 4 of season 2 of the APA Academy, and this week we have a rematch from, I believe it was quarterfinals of the UBL, and we are up against Rewt and his New Jersey Brobats. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, as it helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. But anyway, on to the team. Like I said, we are up against Rewt, and his team consists of Palkia, Solgaleo, Mamoswine, Togekiss, Salazzle, Dhelmise, Scrafty, Vikavolt, Meloetta, Zygarde 10, Heracross, and Blastoise, with Salazzle, Vikavolt, Zygarde being his 3 Z users. So yeah, right off the bat, just a very, very scary team, and something that, like, he just has enough to be really annoying, but at the same time, I really do like, oddly enough, okay, so I promise there is a point to all this. Like, I'm not just randomly I'm not just like beating around the bush, but basically, despite having a full-on Trick Room team, I love my speed tiers in this because he has a bunch of Pokemon sandwiched right around 80 base, and so I should be able to take advantage of that sufficiently. Then Palkia, I mean, yeah, that's base 100, but I do have a Dialga for that, and Assault Vest Dialga, as you can see in front of you. Solgaleo is annoying, but also I still have stuff that can take advantage of it. I have a Zygarde, which, I mean, takes absolutely nothing from Solgaleo unless it's like a modest HP Ice variant, which it could be, very well could be, but in and of itself, my offensive pressure is absolutely absurd against him, so I am really going to try to push that, and I've learned my lesson from last week. Last week was kind of crappy. It just did not end up going particularly well, so I'm going to end up bringing my Mawile, and this is a team that I actually feel pretty good about. I do feel like this team has covered all of its bases. I feel like I have a better matchup, and even though it is tricky with what he has, I do feel like I put in a sufficient amount of time to make this team pretty solid. So yeah, the first mon that I'm going to end up bringing is an Assault Vest Dialga with Draco Meteor, Fire Blast, Flash Cannon, and Thunderbolt. This is for the Palkia, and Palkia is stupidly annoying to my team. Like, Palkia is a gigantic threat. Like, the combination of Spatial Rend and Hydro Pump just potentially from specs can 2-hit KO everything. So the combination of Dialga and Mawile is going to be my way of being like, okay, well, let's see what move you're going to lock yourself into if you are specs, and depending on that move, I can switch accordingly, and so I should be able to, like, at least delay or prevent it from being able to absolutely run through my team if it is a specs variant. If it's not a specs variant, well, then it is much easier to deal with, and I do have plenty of stuff that can take a hit from it. But yeah, with Dialga, with the Draco Meteor, obviously it's super spammable against his team, apart from the Solgaleo, but Solgaleo and Togekiss, but Togekiss is absolutely demolished by Flash Cannon, and I will outspeed, hopefully, with this set, but Solgaleo, I can hit with the Fire Blast, so those first 3 coverage moves are very, very nice for his team, and then the last move I ended up going with Thunderbolt for the Mega Blastoise, just because this is also my switch into that thing, and even though I'm not necessarily thinking that Mega Blastoise is going to come, it's still something that I want to be prepared for, and I don't just want to kind of leave myself like, well, okay, I don't have anything to hit this, like I can go for Draco against it, but then I drop my special attack, I have to switch around. Thunderbolt was just a nice little last coverage move for that thing. The speed is enough to speed creep Adamant Mamoswine, I believe, and you'll notice that that is a very common theme among the speed on my mons, just that the Adamant Mamoswine is what I'm going for, because he can run Jolly, and like, he very realistically could run Jolly, because I think I have the speed tiers to warrant that. Do I have anything that would cause... not necessarily. I mean, maybe Mesprit if he wants to speed tie that thing, but the prospect of an Adamant Ice Shard, particularly when I have a Zygarde complete, is just too good for him to pass up, so I'm pretty sure he is going to be right around that speed tier, and then Togekiss also is another mon that's right around there, and same thing with Heracross, but I do have something better for Heracross, but Togekiss is probably going to be bulky at that, so that's why I went for the Adamant Mamo speed tier. Next up is going to be a bulky yet offensive Mega Mawile with Play Rough, Knockoff, Stealth Rock, and Sucker Punch. All I need is Fairy and Dark coverage against his team. I mean, it's sufficient. It does everything that I need it to do. Knockoff hits things super hard and gets rid of items, and his Z users don't even like switching in to Mawile anyway, so even if he does bring a Z user in on a Knockoff, well, it's still a Mega Mawile, and Knockoff is still going to hurt a ton. Stealth Rock the Stealth Rock on my team is on Mega Mawile. Jeez, I was tripping over my words right there. But yeah, the Stealth Rock on the team is going to be on Mega Mawile, because obviously Dialga is going to be an Assault Vest variant, and then Play Rough just covers his team beautifully. Like, that's going to be the move I'm clicking 90% of the time. unless I'm against a Solgaleo, or I'm going for Stealth Rock or Sucker Punch. So just a very, very straightforward Mega Maw. Yeah, I'm not bringing Mega Maw in Trick Room, but considering its typing and its bulk, I don't even really need Trick Room in this matchup. Next up is going to be a Spadef Rotom with Hydro Pump, Will-O-Wisp, Volt Switch, and Pain Split. This thing is mainly for the Togekiss, because otherwise Togekiss is a gigantic nuisance with, you know, the Paraflinch that it can potentially inflict on my team. So Rotom is a very, very nice switch into that thing. Also, with the Spadef that I have in it, it is able to function as like a backup check when at full to the Palkia or the Palkia, the Vikavolt, the Mega Blastoise. So like it's not my main thing, my main switch in. Rotom is actually here for the Mamoswine, like entirely, because Mamoswine is just, I mean, look at its dual stab against my entire roster. It goes in. So Rotom with the Spadef is able to take on even freeze-dry variants of Mamoswine, so I should be able to switch in, take that, and then go for a Hydro Pump to potentially knock it out, go for a Will-O-Wisp to weaken that thing, Pain Split up in order to get back some HP. So basically Rotom is just there for the Mamoswine, but it also functions very nicely as a backup check or a pseudo check to a lot of other mons on his team, and also Solgaleo as well, just because Rotom's bulk is naturally that good. Next up is going to be a Sub-Toxic Dual Stab Victini with Blue Flare, Psychic, Sub, and Toxic, like I said. And yeah, this thing really, really, really annoys his team. And I'm just realizing that the EVs that I made were suboptimal. Well, I guess that's what you get when you're trying to play 3 games in the span of 7 days. But either way, so I'm bringing a suboptimal Victini set, as you can see. But once again, hitting that Adamant Mamoswine speed tier, just Blue Flare and Psychic are very good against his team, and the things that are able to... Actually, he doesn't have any straight up resistances to my dual stab, so that's all that I need. But also Sub and Toxic, I can sub up on things like the Togekiss, on the Solgaleo, potentially if it's not like a super bulky set, maybe the Delmise depending on what he has. Like, I just have the... Victini forces switches. Victini forces a lot of switches, so I can take advantage of that, go for a substitute, and then I can either... Toxic if like the Palkia comes in, I can Psychic if something else comes in, and basically like I don't have to predict. I can just sub up and go for the appropriate attack given what he switches in. Next up is going to be a Darkinium Z Persian with Knockoff, Parting Shot, Foul Play, and Play Rough. Just a very, very good mon against his team, and this is going to be my Zygarde 10 answer. I need just a lot of HP and a lot of bulk because, yeah, Zygarde is super, super scary for this team. I mean, Knockoff, Parting Shot, and Foul Play were the only moves that I really needed. And keep in mind, Play Rough, even 4 times super effective against Scrafty, only does like 51%. So like that's... Yeah, Persian is really, really weak, so don't expect it to be picking up any like Okos. It was just kind of a situation where all I needed was the first 3 moves, but Play Rough was kind of a throw on like, okay, maybe if I like Draco into Play Rough, I can knock out a Scrafty that's trying to set up on me or something like that. But yeah, Darkinium mainly to bring back up things like the... I'm looking mainly at the Mega Maw or the Dialga, just because those things will have to take the hits early on in order to put me in a better spot. And so by letting those things take hits to either weaken or even just KO the things that they are supposed to be answering, or the things that they... or the checks that try to switch into them, and then be able to bring them back up to full health is something that could be relatively invaluable in this game, and is something that I definitely do like the prospect of. So that's why I have Z Parting Shot with my Persian. And finally, we have a Coil Extreme Speed Outrage 1000 Arrows Zygarde, just a very, very straightforward set, once again outspeeding Adamant Mamoswine. And then Outrage is nice, just, I mean, it's good coverage. It's this with Coil is able to take on Heracross. I'm able to coil up and then knock that thing out with an Outrage. And then Extreme Speed is nice for like the Mamoswine trying to come in and Ice Shard me. 1000 Arrows otherwise is super spammable against his team, as his only resistance is Delmise, and if he brings in Delmise, well, then happy birthday to me. I just set up more and more coils against that. So yeah, that is the team. Let's just go ahead and hop right on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that there is no Togekiss, which was actually kind of interesting, or Heracross or Mega Blastoise. Now, I mean, he did bring 5 of the mons that I was kind of anticipating. I mean, it was obviously Dialga and, or not Dialga, I have Dialga, Palkia and Solgaleo were going to be automatic brings, as well as Mamoswine and Zydog. But the Salazzle was a mon that I like definitely could see him bringing, but also in that last slot he has the Scrafty, and I thought, of like Togekiss, Heracross, and Mega Blastoise, all three of those would have been better options, especially because he does not have a single 1,000 arrow switch in on his entire team. I mean, nothing resists at all, and two of his Mons are hit super effectively. The other Mons do not like to take it in the least, so Zygarde is definitely looking like a gigantic threat against him, but by the same token, his Zydog is looking like a gigantic threat against me, so that's something I'm going to have to keep in mind. But I am just going to lead off with my Alolan Persian, as anything on his team I will be able to just immediately parting shot out, and even though it will not lower the stats of the Solgaleo, it will still allow me to switch out. Wow, I can't talk right now. But yeah, I'll be able to parting shot out and just deal with everything else from there. So yeah, let's just go ahead and hop right on into it. Like I said, I'm leading off with my Alolan Persian just because I figure it matches up well against anything that he has on his team, as he ends up actually leading with his Mamoswine. So this is a very, very beneficial lead for me, as I'm thinking based on his team composition that Mamoswine is going to be his rocker. So, knowing that Rotom is a super obvious switch-in, I'm just going to go immediately for the foul play, as there's nothing this Mamoswine can do to two-hit KO me from the start, and also getting damage off on this thing, putting it in range of extreme speed, is really, really nice for Zygarde in the late game, as he actually ends up going for the sub, I guess expecting the Rotom. I mean, that's what I'm figuring that he probably would do, as I will just be able to go for another foul play, and it ends up being a sub leftovers Mamo, which was kind of interesting, but I mean, Persian is going to be able to absolutely dominate that thing from the get-go, as he does just take this opportunity to get up his rocks. And now, knowing that Mamoswine actually is at a decent amount of HP, I could go for the foul play to try to knock him out, but I'm thinking that he will predict the foul play, so I'm just going to go straight for the knockoff. Even if it doesn't knock out the Mamoswine, yeah, I will take a little bit of damage, but considering that this thing is not Life Orb and it's shown to be lefties, I'm thinking that it wouldn't do a whole lot anyway, as the Scrafty comes in, and I will be able to knock off that thing's leftovers. But now, with the rocks up, I will be able to parting shot out into my Mawile, as there is absolutely nothing this Scrafty can do, and with the combination of parting shot plus intimidate, I will be able to get this Scrafty at -2 before he's even able to move. So I mean, even if he does go for a Dragon Dance or a bulk up on this play, there is nothing, like, it'll still be at -1. Scrafty is not going to be doing crap to my Mega Mawile. I will be able to get up my Stealth Rocks, and even if he Dragon Dances twice, he will just be back at neutral, which, I mean, honestly is fine, because my Mega Mawile is so bulky in this matchup that Play Rough will guaranteed, even if he goes for 2 bulk ups, still be able to knock him out. That's how powerful and how bulky Mega Mawile is. So on this turn, he did go for the Dragon Dance, so I'm just going to Mega Evolve and go for the Stealth Rock, because like I said, I will be able to take any hit that he wants to go for, as he does make the very nice play and goes for the Taunt, so I will not be able to get my rocks up. I'll have to wait until later. And now I'm not messing around, I'm just going to go straight for the Play Rough, as no matter what he goes into, nothing really likes it. The only thing that does not mind is this Solgaleo, which I will be able to get a little bit of an idea of the damage off on him, and this is where playing on Wi-Fi really starts to mess with me, just because, I mean, I see that damage and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I mean, it looks like 20%, it could also be 15%, and now I'm just going to stay in and go for the knockoff, is because the Solgaleo did reveal to have leftovers, there's nothing he can do to one-hit KO me. Even an Adamant Flare Blitz would not KO me, that's how bulky Mega Mawile is, and I will just be able to knock off, get rid of those leftovers, and get Solgaleo weakened more and more. But now that my taunt has worn off, I do have the option to go for Stealth Rock, but I'm just going to stay in and knock off the Solgaleo, just figure out what type of set it is. I still have the parting shot in my Persian for later, as the damage, I mean, I was not really paying attention to what HP Mega Mawile was at. I don't know why, I just, for whatever reason, didn't see it, and I got knocked down into right around to 70 HP, and just absent-mindedly, I was like, okay, that did about 87 damage, completely forgetting about the Stealth Rock, and I was thinking that the Solgaleo was a little bit more offensively invested, and also not having that HP bar did not allow me to determine how much investment the Solgaleo had in HP and defense. I mean, as it turned out, that Solgaleo was super, super bulky, but I'm thinking that it still might have a little bit of a chance to be offensive, and that I just underestimated the amount of damage, like I just inaccurately saw. So I did pull the switch into my Zygarde, expecting another Earthquake, as he pulls the switch into his own Zydog, and I unfortunately will have to switch out, as I don't want to take an Outrage, which is exactly what he goes for. And once again, I didn't pay attention to rocks. I took the hit with Persian, and I'm like, whatever, that looks like a maybe like Jolly Bandit. I didn't even bother calculating. That was a huge mistake on my part. So I mean, already I have made two assumptions that I definitely should not have, but at this point, with him locked into Outrage, or at least I'm assuming locked into Outrage, I am going to go for the Z move with my Persian, go into my Mega Mawile, and get it all the way back up to full health, as I know a -1 Zydog will not be able to knock out Mega Maw, and he has to be banded in order to one-hit KO me with 1,000 arrows at -1, but because he already went for Outrage, I will be able to be immune to that. But unfortunately, he does get the 2-turn Outrage, as we saw a little while ago, and so unfortunately, I won't just get a free kill on the Zydog. Now at this point, I figured he was going to go into his Solgaleo, but I could not pull the trigger. I just had to go for Stealth Rock, as it was very necessary for chipping Salazzle into extreme speed rage of my Zygarde later in the game. And then at this point, I'm going to switch out my Maw. I know that I can take hits. Well, I mean, I want it for the Scrafty later. I want it for the Zydog, because if he can spam Outrage against my team with my Persian being dead to rocks, I will be in a really bad position. And this is where not paying attention to how much damage the Solgaleo did, and also not having the HP bar to be able to accurately tell what the Solgaleo's investment was comes back to bite me, because at this point, I assume that he's faster. I assume that he's going to be faster than my Zygarde, so instead of just going for the 1,000 arrows and knocking him out, I go for the coil, thinking, okay, I can coil into extreme speed, knock him out. Either way, he's going to get an attack off before I'm able to kill him, and unfortunately, I was faster, so I should have just gone for the 1,000 arrows and knocked him out. Like, I'm mad at myself for not realizing, not calculating correctly with my Mawile, and then also not being able to realize that the damage I did with knockoff was to a bulky defensive Solgaleo that would not have been able to outspeed Zygarde. So very, very unfortunate situation right there, as I do eat a Toxic for absolutely no reason, and that is going to really, really hurt late game. I mean, that very well could come back to bite me, as luckily, because I knocked him out with 1,000 arrows instead of extreme speed, he goes into his Mamoswine, so Zygarde is able to pick up 2 big kills right off the bat, leaving him only with his Zydog, Salazzle, and his Scrafty late in the game. So this is actually looking really, really nice for me. The fact that I knocked him out with 1,000 arrows instead of extreme speed definitely played into my favor there, as he was trying to come in and get some last-minute damage off with Ice Shard, I'm sure of it, as he goes into his Salazzle at this point. And I'm thinking, okay, he's brought sub on 2 Mons already. What are the odds that 3 Mons on his team have sub, especially on the Salazzle, who's already pressed for coverage as is? So I'm going to sack off my Persian right here, thinking that, especially with a +1 Zygarde in his face, he cannot afford to go for sub right now. Like, he cannot afford to click substitute. If I potentially went for E-Speed and knocked him below the substitute range, I would have just gotten a free KO. But now I'm going to go into my Victini, and stupidly, I click sub. Now, first of all, I completely forgot that Salazzle was one of his Z-Mons. Like, that was, again, complete oversight and absent-mindedness on my part. But I forgot that Salazzle was one of his Z-Mons, and I was thinking, okay, if Scrafty comes in, I want to be able to poison that thing, completely forgetting or neglecting the fact that I had a full health Mawile. So instead of just going for the Psychic and either claiming the kill on Salazzle or getting a good chunk of damage off on Palkia or the Zydog, I instead go for the substitute, meaning that this Salazzle, I don't even get a sub up, as Z Sledge Wave will knock me below my substitute. But that was a huge oversight. I did not think that one through at all. That was a very bad misplay by me, and I'm very absent-minded about this game. Like, I'm just not thinking things through. I'm not observing what I need to. Luckily, I do get the Dialga in on a Sledge Wave, as, I mean, I knew he would go for that to try to pick off the Victini, and at this point, I just almost claim one with Draco. I mean, the Scrafty, unfortunately, is still at a very high amount of HP, and it will be able to take just over half, but I will not be able to knock him out with a second Draco. However, like I said before, I do have the max HP, or the near max HP. It's taken 1 round of rocks, and it's about to take a second with my Mawile, and considering that damage revealed that he is very, very Spidef, meaning that he has little to no attack investment, even a +1 high jump kick will not be able to knock me out at this range. So at this point, Mawile will be able to come in, claim one with Play Rough, as Scrafty does end up critting me, which really, really sucked. I mean, I was not happy with that crit, as it could potentially, like, depending on damage rolls, that could very much put me in a bad spot. And I get a revenge crit, but I mean, it's 4 times super effective against Scrafty. from a Mega Mawile. So that literally did not matter in the least, as he is going to go into his Palkia right here, and I'm just going to sack off my Victini because I don't want my Dialga to come in on an Earth Power or like a Fire Blast or something like that. I want Dialga to come in, be guaranteed able to take 2 hits no matter what this Palkia set is, and be able to take it on. So I am going to go into my Victini, sack that off to the rocks, as he reveals his 3rd frickin' Mon that has Substitute. So I mean, Rewt loves himself some Substitute, and I mean, it worked out finally. The first 2 times it didn't work out, but I mean, I guess if you're all in on a strategy, you just got to keep going for it until it works. And I am going to go into my Dialga. If his Palkia is faster than me, then that does mean that my Thunderbolt should be able to break his sub, unless he's like a max HP and minimal special attack variant. As I go for the Thunderbolt, and I'm faster, and it turns out that I don't even break his sub as he goes for Earth Power, but as you'll see, because I am as bulky as I am, that will not even be a 2-hit KO. So this is yet another point in the game where I just make a huge oversight, and like I just was not thinking things out. What I should have immediately done, gone Rotom, and Volt switched into Dialga, because Palkia would have been faster than the Rotom. I would have been able to get a Volt switch to break the sub, because Thunderbolt plus Volt switch guaranteed broke his sub, and I would have been able to just have Dialga in, clicking Draco and claiming a kill with my Dialga still at a good amount of health to be able to take on the Salazzle later. But because I just didn't even think about it, like I was just clicking buttons, not actually thinking things through, I do let Dialga take an extra hit. So yeah, this is honestly not going very well at all. I mean, my Zygarde is poisoned because I did not calc. My Dialga is forced to take an extra hit to where it's not even able to take on the Salazzle later. So this is just looking worse and worse for me. But at this point, I'm going to go into my Rotom because, like I said, I want to get that Volt Switch off, the slow Volt Switch, to be able to go into my Dialga and claim one with Draco. Like, as long as I don't miss Draco, I still think I'm in a good enough spot in order to be able to win this game, because of my Zygarde and my Spidef Rotom being able to take on the Z-moveless Salazzle at this point. He goes for the Toxic and misses, but as you'll see, that literally will not matter in the least later in the game. So I'll go for the Volt Switch, get a crit. Again, that crit did not matter. I'm the master of getting crits that literally are completely insignificant, as I will be able to go into my Dialga at this point and know that I am faster, so I will be able to show that Diamond is the superior version to Pearl, and I will be able to knock out this Palkia or whatever he switches in with a Draco. So now it's just a matter of what does he click in order to, what does he sack to my Dialga? He ends up sacking his Palkia, which I think is the best play, because if he did not sack the Palkia, if he sacked the Zydog or the Salazzle, then Dialga would have been able to come in on rocks once again, and as long as I did not let Palkia get a sub, Dialga would be able to claim another kill with Draco. So I mean, he made the best play in sacking his Palkia right there, but he will be able to go into his Zydog and kill my Dialga with 1,000 arrows. But considering the amount of health that my Zygarde is at, I'm thinking that I still have this game on lock. I should be in a very, very good position to be able to pull out the win with my Zygarde, because he does lock himself into 1,000 arrows, or at least I'm assuming he locks himself into 1,000 arrows. And I'm going to go into my Zygarde, click 1,000 arrows of my own, because the 1,000 arrows would have done sufficient damage to the Zydog if he decided to stay in. Then I would also get my Father Form, and Mawile would be able to clean up with Sucker Punch, where I also had a Spidef Rotom for the Salazzle. But as it turns out, he does switch into the Salazzle. I am able to kill like 30 of them with the 1,000 arrows being 4 times super effective, and the Salazzle does go down, leaving him only with his Zydog. Now, here is where I make another crucial absent-minded play. I'm thinking that Power Construct, so first of all, I completely misunderstood how Power Construct worked, and you would have thought after last battle, when I actually had Power Construct finally activate, that I would know how it works. But nope, that's not the case, because for whatever reason, I was under the impression that as soon as you went under half HP, Power Construct activated, so all I needed to do was just sack off my Rotom, bring my Zygarde in on rocks, and it would put me under half, and I would be able to get my Father Form and get back HP, because at that point, if he was Adamant Banded 1,000 arrows, that could have potentially knocked me out with a high roll or even a crit. But considering now I go into my Zygarde, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't get my Father Form. If he's Adamant Banded and gets a high roll, I just lose. Luckily, he does not I am able to live that, and I'm not even sure if Mawil's Sucker Punch would have been able to clean up the Zydog from that range, because he clearly had a lot of HP. However, luckily for me, my stupidity was not punished. My stupidity was not punished in that instance, as he is Scarf. I am able to live that very easily. I think it did about 60 HP and get my Father form. And at this point, even if he crits me, 1,000 arrows will not be able to take me out, so I am just going to go for 1,000 arrows of my own, maybe even take him out, or at least put him in range of Mawile at the end, and unfortunately doesn't take him out, but all that means, because he did not crit me with the poison, I will not be taken out, and I will be able to KO the Zydog with extreme speed. So not only were we able to have Palkia versus Dialga in this game, we were also able to have Father versus Doggo, which was really kind of cool. But I mean, luckily we were able to pull out the win 2-0 despite this being one of the most absent-minded games I've had in a while. And I mean, like, I've made plenty of like team building errors in my time. I mean, even last week I just didn't even think about the team. But like, I've made plenty of team building errors, I've made plenty of bad plays, but this game was kind of the first one that I've really just kind of been like absent-minded and not really paying attention to anything, because I mean, there are multiple instances that just me not really paying attention to the situation just kind of screwed me over. I mean, there's the obvious not knowing how Power Construct worked, but then there was the letting Dialga take the extra hit after not going to Rotom to just Volt Switch out on the sub, which I just let it take the extra Earth Power to do. There was the not going for Psychic against the Salazzle when I had a full health Mega Mawile able to take on Scrafty, and also able to claim one if I did get Mega Mawile in on Scrafty, that I decided to try to go for sub instead of Psychic. There was also just not noticing any of the calcs, specifically with his Zygarde and his Solgaleo, which led to him getting extra damage and also putting me in a position that I just didn't know what the Zygarde was. Just very many oversights and just not paying attention on my part. But luckily, I mean, the team was good enough that I was able to still pull out the win despite just not really knowing what was going on. So I do apologize for that. I mean, this was one of the more absent-minded games I've had in my entire draft career, so I'll try to step it up. But nonetheless, hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.